Right now, though, let's talk about incredible attacks on free speech that we have seen over the last few days. It was Nigel Farage who first spoke up about how his Coutts account, well, he didn't name the bank, but we know he banks with Coutts accounts, have been threatened with closure by the bank. The bank refuses to tell him why. It's believed to be because of his so-called controversial views. Not sure what their controversial views are. It seems to me his controversial views are those backed by the majority of people in this country. Jeremy Hunt, the Treasury, the Chancellor, has said that he is concerned about banks basically deciding who can bank with them based on their political views. Other organisations like PayPal have basically used their power to close down things like the Free Speech Union's account, and also that of Us For Them, campaigners against kids being thrown out of school during lockdowns. Let's talk about this with Ben Jones, who's Outreach Director at the Free Speech Union. Good morning to you, Ben.
Good morning.
I have to say, it's absolutely extraordinary, this. And when Nigel Farage spoke about this, first of all, everyone was saying, oh, well, that's because you've probably done something dodgy and this is about money laundering. I mean, people are just throwing things around. I'm thinking, wow, these people must have good access to a libel lawyer if they're very, very sure of themselves, these accusations. And we've had accusations of people like Chris Bryant, the Labour MP in Parliament, where he's got parliamentary privilege about Nigel Farage receiving loads of, hundreds of thousands of pounds from the Russian media backed by Putin. Again, simply unproven, and actually proven not to be the case, according to his accounts. But what do you make of a bank basically saying, we don't want you to bank with us, we'd like you to go elsewhere, we're not going to tell you why, but wink, wink, it's because of your views?
Well, the window of acceptable opinion in Britain seems to be getting narrower and narrower and narrower. And since the Free Speech Union was no platformed by PayPal last year, we've been inundated with people coming forward saying that my bank has closed my account with no notice, or I've been taken off a fundraising platform, or I've been demonetized by a social media platform, or whatever it might be. So it's not just Nigel Farage, and it's very dispiriting to see people who don't like Nigel Farage just sort of laughing or scoffing at this story without any thought about what the broader implications are for this. Because if we live in a world where your bank can unilaterally close your accounts without notifying you because you're a politically exposed person, which is an incredibly broad term, we're in a very dangerous, very perilous situation. And these banks may as well be putting up signs saying no feminists, no Brexiteers, no lockdown skeptics. It's a huge swathe of the public.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, the Reverend Richard Fothergill was also affected. He said that his Yorkshire Building Society account was closed days after he wrote to the bank to complain about their public messaging during Pride Month. They said they responded by saying accounts are only ever terminated if a customer is rude, abusive, violent, or discriminates in any way. But again, well, I'm sure they wouldn't want my money either, because I don't believe transphobia, but I'm accused of transphobia for simply saying that I don't believe that a man can become a woman simply by saying that he is a woman. Now that according to the modern definition is transphobia, and that is the worrying thing. A lot of people saying things which most people regard as common sense, reasonable things are facing this. Us For Them, fantastic campaigners to get children back into schools. That's literally all they campaigned for. They wanted children not to be wearing masks and not to be kept out of classrooms during lockdowns. And they saw their PayPal account being suspended, and indeed the founder, Molly Kingsley. Free Speech Union. I mean, I'm a member of the Free Speech Union, as is actually my guest. I think everyone should be a member of the Free Speech Union, frankly. Sam Armstrong in the studio. But your organisation, you lost thousands when your PayPal account, and indeed Toby Young, that your boss's account was closed down purely for expressing views which someone didn't like.
Well, it was a brush with financial death, or perhaps financial murder would be the more appropriate metaphor, which we've survived. But what's going on when these cases occur? There's no legal process. I mean, banks are bandying around this term discrimination, and they'll close your account if you're discriminatory. But that's not being decided by a jury. That's not being decided by lawyers in a court of law. It's being decided by who knows who is taking those decisions.
Well, Nigel Farage said he wrote for about a month. He couldn't get a response from his bank about the reason why. Again, if it was, we suspect you of criminal activity, you'd think the bank might tell him that.
it's important to think about where we go from here. And the Free Speech Union has been lobbying the government now for some time to change financial regulation since we were debanked by PayPal last year. And it needs to be impossible for a bank or a financial institution to close somebody's account because of their political views, not least because the range of acceptable opinion is becoming so narrow. And so many people will be caught up if banks continue to adopt this horrendously censorious approach.
And so many people seem to be very relaxed about this, go, well, you know, I don't like him, so that's okay. They don't realise, of course, that it could change and it could be them or someone they support. And the point is, you don't have to agree with somebody for to think that they should be allowed to carry on their daily life, keep their job, keep a bank account. I mean, modern daily life doesn't function very easily without a bank account. I'm not sure it functions at all. We know that was used against the Canadian truckers campaigning against vaccine passports. We know that the Chinese government uses this routinely to shut down dissent. This is a tool of authoritarianism.
The other point as well is that Nigel Farage or the Free Speech Union have big platforms where when these things happen to us, we're able to draw attention to it. We're able to lobby government and make a huge fuss in the press about it and try and get these institutions to change their mind. But if this is happening to people on the street, which we know for a fact that it is to ordinary members of the public who don't have recourse to that kind of platform, long gone are the days where you can walk into your bank and get an issue like this sorted out. It's being taken, decisions like this completely anonymously. It's completely unacceptable. So we're pleased that the government does seem to be moving on this, that the Chancellor Jeremy Hunt has said that there will be an investigation by the City Minister who we met with last year. So there does seem to be some progress, but it's a very worrying state of affairs.
Again, it's all very well, isn't it, Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor, saying he's deeply concerned that lenders are black. No, you simply call the bank leader, bank boss in and go, you do this, we're going to close you down. I mean, you are not allowed to do this in a free country.